Hey everyone, this is Flammy, and welcome back to part 2 of my interview with Jorge Yao, #1 player in Clash of Clans, who is well on the track to getting 4,000 trophies. First player to get there if his luck holds true. How you doing, Jorge?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good myself. So if you didn't catch part 1, you should check out it right now. You can find the link in the description or the annotation on your screen now. But here we are, back to the interview. So Jorge, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself for those of you listening who have missed part 1?
Obviously, my gamer tag is Jorge Yao, #1 right now. Currently on my way to 4,000. I'm at 3955. A little bit about me personally. I'm 24 years old, about to turn 25, and I live in San Francisco and work as a project manager.
Sounds good. So only 45 trophies to go. When's your rough estimate for getting that? Short term or long term?
Long term, I would estimate probably end of this weekend. Short term, end of Saturday night.
Wow. Okay, so that's only about another 24 hours on the short term,
Yes.
or I don't know. I guess 2 days on the long end. So pretty good. That's pretty impressive right there. So what do you like to do? Do you play other games?
I used to be more involved in first-person shooters. That's basically where I started in terms of gaming. I'm not really too much into gaming in general, casual player. I started with Counter-Strike, moved on to Halo, obviously, then Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and never was much of a, iPhone or app player either, so.
So this is someone new to you as well. Someone new to me too.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is basically the only app game that I play.
Definitely true for me too. Interesting how that happens. It's such just a great game. It sucks us in, even though we don't even play the genre.
Exactly.
So any other games beyond that, or anything you want to talk about gaming-wise?
Not really. I mean, Call of Duty Modern Warfare is, sometimes I wish I was playing that instead because it's a lot cheaper, obviously. But, it's got its pros and cons.
So were you a PC Master Race or a console gamer?
Both actually. I started on PC with Counter-Strike and then moved on to console when Halo came out.
Very nice, very nice. Mostly a console guy myself, but you know what? I try to struggle now and then with getting on those PC first-person shooters.
Right.
Okay, then, do your friends and family know what you have accomplished in this game and are about to accomplish?
Funny that you bring that up because earlier this week, when I was #1, first place, I actually joked around with my older brother. His best friend is currently in Wharton Business School, pursuing something in the gaming industry afterwards. And so I jokingly sent him a screenshot and, just told him to tell his friend to, just quit now because Top Dog is already here.
You already got it locked down. I like
exactly.
it. So what was his reaction like?
He was like, "What is this game? And are they paying you?"
Are they paying you? I like that as the first impression reaction. You have a good answer to that?
I said, yes, free gems that don't give me anywhere on Sundays, and yeah.
A little bit of recognition here and there? Or a whole lot, as you might have heard in the previous video.
Yeah, a little bit of recognition.
That's cool, that's cool. Okay then, moving on. So this video is going to cover some high-level tactics. Moving on to the tactics, can you describe your normal attack?
Sure. So I'm a strictly dragon attacker. So typically speaking, when you're a top level or, higher cup, you're either a Pekka player or you're a dragon player. I've always been dragons, stuck with dragons. Luckily, the update hasn't really affected my gameplay, only minor tweaks here and there. But typically speaking, I get to 50% on most battles or, 99% of my battles using 11 drags for lightning spells.
Interesting. So let's start with the first thing you mentioned, which was how did the update affect some players, and how did it change stuff?
To be honest, it turned a lot of players more into farmers because of the cost of upgrading. For me, it didn't really have much of an effect, as I previously mentioned, because, dragons aren't affected by walls, obviously, so that had no effect on me. But it surely did on those on Pekka players, so I'm sure they had to tweak their strategies or whatnot once the update rolled out.
So things that would affect them most are obviously the new wall levels, which are much slower to go through. Would the cannons be of concern?
Not so much. I mean, like I said, I don't use Pekkas. Are you talking about air defense or the?
No, just for other. You said that the update changed stuff, so I was wondering if they added a cannon to I think it was Town Hall 6 or
Mhm.
7, something like that. So obviously everyone at high levels got a new cannon as well. Would
Right.
that change like the sort of attacking armies people would use, or not really?
I wouldn't think so. And from what I've heard from top players, the extra walls, I think it's an extra, and it's an additional hit from a Pekka to destroy the wall. I believe. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong because I'm not a Pekka player, but that's what I've heard from other Pekka players.
Interesting. So that's actually a pretty big increase when it's normally like what 2 hits or something to get through.
Yeah.
So interesting, a whole 50% longer. So I guess that would definitely change things.
Right.
Okay then. So would you be interested in possibly sharing one of these high-level videos sometime in the future?
Yeah, of course. Certainly would.
That would be awesome. I would love to see what some of these high-level bases look like when they're getting all blown up. We don't really get to see them when we are at the top of the leaderboard just spectating, but to see some destruction in action, that would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, Jorge, can you talk to me about sort of the cost-effectiveness of these different high-level attacks?
Sure. So the biggest difference that I see, for me, I use drags because I like to save as many resources, gems, whatever, as possible. It's the cheapest way that I have come up with that pretty much guarantees me 50% 1 star every battle, which I use 11 drags for lightning. But with Pekka attacks, and obviously with the introduction of kings and queens, it takes 700 gems to heal a level 30 king and a level 30 queen combined. So if you're using those 2 units every single attack, you can imagine how costly it would be per attack, especially if you're moving up 1 cup at a time, which, when you're higher up cup level, that's what happens. You move up 1.
Very interesting. Thank you for that. Speaking of different types of attacks, can you sort of describe how many different types there are? Is it just Dragon, Pekka?
So with the Pekka attack, it's a combination of Peks, Wizards, Wall Breakers sometimes, and those are usually, and then obviously a combination of spells, usually, a Rage spell, a Heal spell maybe, and a Lightning for the Clan Castle. For drags though, there's really typically only 2 combinations. It's all drags, 11 drags, and then you either use 4 Lightning or some people choose 2 Rage and 2 Lightning. It really depends on personal preference and what you're comfortable using. But in terms of analyzing the cost, what I found was the Pekka strategy cost a lot, significantly more in terms of per attack.
That's really interesting. So you said you're a 4 lightning player, is that correct?
Correct.
So that means you use 4 lightning spells every time you attack.
No, typically speaking, I can hit 50% at 3 lightning. And their CC troops are obviously out, but, they're attacking my drags, but I have other drags attacking outer buildings, so I usually hit 50% without having to use my final fourth, lightning spell. So usually it's 11 drags, 3 lightning.
Okay, so coming from the perspective of a medium-level player, I guess, I'm a Town Hall 8, but talking to you, I definitely have to call myself a medium-level player. How does that sort of play into, what are you focusing down? So you mentioned that you're hitting Clan Castle guys, so what are you actually dropping your spells on to weaken or kill?
Okay, so first 3 lightning spells I always use on air defense. So typically speaking, if it's a level 30 queen, I use the 3 lightning spells on the closest air defense near the queen, so I can take out the queen first and easier. If you try to avoid the queen, it's disastrous if things go wrong. If you accidentally activate the queen mid-battle, you have a very low chance of winning. So my strategy is I like to take out the queen first, take out an air defense, and spread my dragons out with outer buildings. So when the Clan Castle troops come out, they're only attracted to 1 or 2 or 3, maybe 3 dragons. The rest of the dragons don't get sucked in, and they're just, attacking the rest of the base. So that's how I'm able to only use 3 lightning, because typically, the 2 or 3 drags will stall the Clan Castle troops, while the rest of my spread drags will get me to 50% before I need to use the lightning.
Very interesting. So it takes those 3 lightnings to take out the air defense and hopefully weaken the queen.
Correct.
Okay, very cool. So moving on. So you mentioned when we were talking before about cheap shields. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so the concept of cheap shields, a lot of top players use it. It's a very smart process, actually, and trick that I actually just recently learned about a few weeks ago. So basically the concept is you attack from a clan that's not yours, in the hopes of finding members in your actual clan when you're attacking. And the trick is you're offering them a cheap shield, quote unquote, by only taking one cup from them, and in return you're giving them a 12-hour shield. Now, if you skip them, some other player can obviously take more cups from your clanmate than you would. So your clanmate would gladly give up one cup for a 12-hour shield, then have you pass that up. So essentially you're attacking your own clanmates.
So can you explain how that works? You say one cup. What does that mean in terms of stars for the rest of us who aren't quite so used to your cup counts?
Oh, okay. So essentially you would attack until you get to 50%, 1 star, and end the battle.
So
now
only 1 star for 1 cup.
Correct. Now that's only because of my cup level. I can only take 1 cup, so it's beneficial to both me and my clanmates. Now, if I was around the same cup level as my clanmates, this strategy would not work because we would be losing cups on both sides. So.
Very interesting. So you mentioned before that there's a revenge part tied into this. Can you talk about how that works?
Right. So by giving this service of this cheap shield and giving your clanmate this 12-hour shield for only 1 cup, in return they have you on their revenge list. So in essence, they can revenge you back for cups. But because 12-hour shield is activated at 40% damage without having to lose a star and lose the battle, they can return the favor, and you can coordinate a revenge where they would revenge you when you tell them you're signing off, essentially. They would revenge you, stop at 42% around there, give you your 12-hour shield, but they wouldn't lose any cups either because of the cup difference. Because I'm such a high level, they have nothing to lose in terms of cups. I'm a 60 cup, like 3-star, 60 cups win. They won't lose a single cup if they lose. So it's a kind of a win-win situation. The most they lose is the resources they use to attack me to 42%.
And so there's also another win because that means someone else your own level or just below can't attack you as well because you're getting a shield, right?
Exactly.
So that's a very interesting, very fine-tuned, and requires a lot of communication for this technique to work. How often are you able to take advantage of this?
Recently, I've only taken advantage of this probably less than 5 times, and it was all this week. It's hard to coordinate sometimes when you're dealing with, members in different, time zones and things of that nature. But typically speaking, I've only probably used it 5 times so far.
But once again, you mentioned the previous video, you're pulling 24 and 48-hour marathons on the game.
Exactly. So I have no real.
That's relatively a lot for the number of times you log off.
Exactly.
Interesting. So what happens in the sort of situation where you log off without one of these cheap shields of your own?
Then you're just subject to anyone else attacking you. So obviously your defense, you want to make sure that it's fine-tuned so that, the most that they get is 1 star. So my strategy is I always want to compensate for a defense loss, which is typically losing 18 or 19 cups. So I try to cushion myself at the end of the attack session by 18 or 19 cups because I know I'm going to lose those if I go on defense.
So that means you try to get at least 18 or 19 cups every time you play, which is 18 or 19 wins, so that when you lose at the end of the session, you're still at least back to where you're beginning and not losing ground. Is that right?
Correct. So you're always trying to net positive by making up those 18 or 19 as a cushion. Now, if someone 2-stars you, then, you're in the hole and you have to make those up the next session. But typically speaking, if you have a decent base, 1 star shouldn't be a problem.
So that sort of seems to indicate that if it takes you like 45 minutes or an hour, say an hour in a bad case, to get those 18 trophies, that's 18 hours worth of playing every time you log off just to maintain your trophy count?
Correct.
Wow, that sounds pretty rough.
Right. And if you add in a mistake on offense where you lose 39 cups, it's even worse.
Ouch. That would be really hard.
Right.
So how many times have you lost in the last, I don't know, week that you've been up here? 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
I probably made mistakes probably 3 or 4 times. And by mistake I mean, forgetting spells or double tapping a spell and, clicking the wrong thing, falling asleep as an example.
So that was one of them, the story you told in the previous one?
Exactly. So things of that nature, it's laughable, and it obviously is frustrating because you feel like you just wasted all that time and you have to make it back up. But, as long as you keep going and, you have faith that, your strategy is good and that, you have the time to be able to make it up, then, you just got to push through it.
That's pretty impressive right there. Only 3 mistakes in many, many, many hours of gameplay. I'm sure you're averaging better than I am. So my subscribers will know I love to upload my misclick videos, so they can see my failures in full glory.
Nice.
Okay, then, moving on. I'm sort of curious about the sort of atmosphere and feel at high trophy counts between players. Can you talk about that?
So the atmosphere, I would say it's a lot more camaraderie between players, especially in your own clan, because everyone's so competitive when you're in a clan that's, top 50 or top 10. Obviously, as you go up higher in clan rank, it gets even more competitive. So the competitive nature of the people in your clan just naturally, rubs off on you, and you naturally just want to be as competitive. Now, obviously, the beauty of being in these clans is that there's such a large network where if you do decide that, you don't want to play this game anymore, or you want to take a break, there's other clans that are associated where you can just hang out and be more of a social player and less competitive.
So it's also interesting because when you're raiding and attacking, you'll recognize players all the time, right?
Oh, yes. I attacked the same players constantly over and over again this past week, probably.
So does that sort of leave like a bad taste in your mouth, or you don't know them, or are you still friends afterwards? How does that sort of relationship work?
I don't, quite honest, I don't know them, so
You just see them.
Yeah, I just see them.
In passing.
Exactly.
With dragons in passing.
Exactly.
So how does this atmosphere sort of translate to clan-on-clan atmosphere? You mentioned within your own clan, but what about between clans, especially those clans that are vying for the top spot?
So there obviously has been a lot of discussion in terms of the ethics behind having those Sunday, span clan or spur up clans that come up Sunday and then just completely disappear right after the tournament.
Can you explain what that sort of means by that?
So basically, I'm sure viewers have seen Phantom and other clans that only come up Sundays and will end Sunday right after the tournament. Essentially, what they are clans that people of high level from various clans combine together into one clan in the hope of getting first place to win those free gems. Obviously, now me personally, I don't agree with it. I don't like it. And I will never do it. I could care less about the tournament. I think that it undermines the whole purpose of clans to begin with. I think that clans should be, a family unit. You stick together through thick and thin. And, just because you're number one player doesn't mean that you deserve those 1,000 gems every week. That's not the purpose of the game. The purpose is, to develop those relationships and be in a clan that, treats you like your family.
So do you think that Supercell sort of changed their policy? They used to sort of give shout-outs to the top 3 clans when that tournament ended every week. Do you think they sort of changed this in sort of response, sort of silently backing this sort of disapproval that you're expressing?
I believe so. I mean, I can't speak for Supercell, obviously, but I did see, them stopping the congratulations of the 3 clans because of this, issue coming up every Sunday. So, I mean, I don't think there's really an answer or solution to it without further consequences or other, effects. So, you just have to deal with it. But it is what it is, and, you just have to live with it.
It's interesting. Thank you for talking about those clans. Followed me up. As someone who's lower, you see them happen all the time, but you don't really quite understand the dynamics behind them, and that sheds a lot of light on it.
Right.
So I've heard of this concept called revenge stalking. How does that work at high levels?
Okay, so a little bit about revenge stalking. Obviously, when someone attacks you, you have the ability to revenge them. When you click on the revenge button, it either says the person's on Shield or the person's online. Now, the concept of revenge stalking is now when you're a really high cup level and you're waiting, sometimes 30 minutes for a good battle where you're only getting 1 or 2 cups, if you spend 30 minutes and end up having a successful revenge stalk, that could make up the entire time of you searching just the regular battle queue, let's say. And the concept behind that is you're basically looking at the opponent's base, seeing whether or not their clan castle's filled with defensive troops, offensive troops, whether their elixir storage is halfway full, almost empty, and also whether or not they're online first and foremost. Now, when you do notice these signs of them maybe logging off or signing off, that's when you kind of pay more close attention, keep an eye on their base, and start clicking the revenge button and hope to get lucky.
So can you explain how that sort of works? You said there were these signs. So the elixir emptying out, what does that mean?
So the elixir storage, obviously, at a top level, elixir storages are filled by gems. Everyone fills them up by gems because the wait time is just ridiculous to be able to have a continuous attack session. So when their elixirs storages are depleting, and you can obviously see that when you go to their base, typically speaking, there's 2 things that they normally do. They can either refill their elixir storage if they plan on attacking more or additional hours, or they go on defense. It's usually one or the other. They refill elixir or they go on defense. So that's where you kind of look for. And if elixir storages are getting low, you have that opportunity where there might be a chance the person's going to be logging off, and you can revenge them.
So that's really fascinating the way you call it, like sort of on defense. It's very much a push and pull game at this level.
Correct.
It makes it sound like a sort of a football match or some, I don't know, a non-American sport that I can use. But basically, one team is on in one time, and then they're off for the rest of the next couple hours.
Right.
Okay, moving on. You had also mentioned, along with the elixir, you mentioned clan castle emptying out. Won't people have their clan castle full all the time when attacking and defending?
Not necessarily. I rarely use my clan castle for attacking. I only use it when I need to, in desperation, last resort type of thing. For defense, though, it's extremely important, especially at our level. It's highly important in terms of the combination of troops that you use and the strategy. Now, typically speaking, I'm sure most of you use, all archers for your defense, but recently people have discovered a combination of maybe barbarians and archers, and the theory behind that is once the clan castle troops draw some of the attacking troops into them, if they destroy, let's say, all the archers, the dragons will float to the clan castle to take out the rest of the barbs. Now, when they're floating, they're obviously getting gunned down by all the defenses around them. So that's a concept where, it might be beneficial to have a few barbarians in there, and that's why you see more clan castle defensive clan castles having both a mixture of barbarians and archers at the same time.
Does it also come into play that when you have just archers, they're all grouped up for lightning spells?
So lately I've noticed that archers group twice. So they group up in your clan castle, and then a bunch release at once, and then a second set group up and then release all at once. So due to that timing delay, I typically let them just come out, and then I usually hit 50% before they even all come out. So that's where that last lightning spell, it's really just depends on how far along percentage-wise I am in the battle, whether or not I use that last spell.
So the key is basically you want to not let your dragons get distracted as the clan castle guys, thereby allowing them to die to air defenses and archer towers and crossbows.
Correct.
Okay, very interesting. So speaking of crossbows, crossbows have 2 options if you're not aware.
Right.
Well, obviously you, Jorge, are aware, but any viewers, if you're not aware, you can either set them to target ground or set them to target air, and there's different ranges for both of these. What is preferred at top levels?
Air is preferred. Now, I have seen rarely a few people use a combination of air and ground, but generally speaking, it's safe to say that majority it's all air.
And why is that?
The reason behind that is because of dragons. Now, with my strategy, obviously, if you take out an air defense and you don't have your your crossbows on air, you only really have 2 defensive buildings or units that can really do serious damage to dragons. The last 2 air defense. So you need anything and everything you can get to defend against those dragons. Now, obviously, if you set them to air, your range is smaller, so against Pekkas, it might not be as great, but there's always a trade-off. So.
Very interesting. Thank you very much for that. So that's going to wrap up our high-level tactics section. That was a very long and very detailed and very interesting to me, and I hope all of you guys look into high-level tactics. So we're going to be moving on to more about the game and about sort of your plan. So that's going to wrap it up for part 2 of 3 of this interview. So stay tuned for more in the near future. Subscribe if you haven't, and be sure not to miss out on that. Jorge, do you have any final words?
Yeah, just keep clashing on, find a good clan, and have fun. I want to give a few shout-outs to, obviously, first and foremost, my clan, North 44, the leader, Levesters, a few other friends, Clan Holland, for being so supportive, as well as a few members of Awakening, Riva, Crystal, and Tina.
Yes, indeed. Thank all of you for helping out Jorge so he can be where he is today. And thank you, Jorge, very much for being here, spending some time to talk to me, and share all of your knowledge with everyone out here on the Internet. For everyone out there on the Internet, stay tuned for part 3 of this interview coming up very shortly. What are we going to be doing in there? Well, Jorge has some advice for new and upcoming players and trophy hounds. He's going to be talking about his thoughts on the future of the game and balance issues, as well as his plans for once he reaches his 4,000 trophy goal. You won't want to miss out. Stay tuned, guys, and as always, have a great day.